Hey, what's up? This is Will Spur with Abysmal Hymns, and I am back with Reza Mills. And as promised, we're going over the top five bands that we tried to get into, but just couldn't. They're not bands, I know, at least from my perspective, I think from his too, they're not bands that we have ill feelings towards or don't respect.
Mm.
Typically speaking, I would say. One of mine is a band that I used to like, and then just they lost me. Um, so yeah, so it's just, not all music's for everybody. And I can understand some qualities of bands that I like that people might not like. So yeah. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's all subjective at the end of the day. And for me, as you pointed out, these are not bands that I despise. In fact, I've tried actively to like them. And some I've even gotten a little bit frustrated that I can't like it when I want to. Um, but yeah, it's as you say, you can't like everything. It's impossible. So yeah, these are artists I still respect, but sometimes it just doesn't click.
Yeah, there's a couple of mine that are bands that like do something that I just listen to bands that already do it better.
Sure.
Or fill that need. Because like with any like musical genre, I typically like will pick one band that I really, and it's not an intentional thing, it's just how it works out.
Of course.
Yeah, that I'll latch onto and then you know, that's how it goes. I mean, there are only so many, and when people say, well, music's not a competition, it's like, really? Because I only have 24 hours in my day. So
Yeah.
that means that all 100 and whatever bands that are in my iTunes are all vying for airplay.
Yeah,
Can't listen to everything,
absolutely.
you know?
Especially if you use something like Spotify. I mean, I use Spotify, and even though the bands aren't exactly getting paid well, I am aware of that. They're still, you know what I mean? In an ideal world, they'll still be earning money off of me
Yeah,
playing
I
them.
don't do that. I mean, the only thing I use Spotify is when we're posting episodes, like the
Yeah.
one from last week.
Yeah.
I mean, there's, how it is. Some labels will give you a Spotify link rather than a promo.
Hmm.
I'll use it then. But other than
Sure.
that, I like to have everything in my iTunes. It feels like I own it. And
Sure.
because I don't have a lot of physical releases now, I have some book of CDs lying around somewhere. Um, but yeah. And I use Last FM to track how much I'm listening to something because that's my OCD trait from being on the spectrum. So I like to make
Fair
lists.
enough.
Obviously, because we're doing one right now. So how about you get started with your
All
number?
right.
And
Okay.
these don't have to be in order. And
Okay. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Oh. So, my first choice is the most contentious. It's the Beatles. I might as well just get it over with. And, I mean, obviously they're played everywhere in the world, but especially when you're from England like me, and these guys are ubiquitous. And let's get the positives out the way. Yes, I understand about the impact, the socio impact, the George Martin productions and blah, blah, blah. I get it. I understand why they are so important. But you're just so exposed to their music to the point where you hate it. I remember an interview with one of the guys, wives of one of the guys from SSD, who was talking about it's like 1980 and we're still listening to the Doors and the Beatles, and it just wasn't our music. And I just feel that it's just gone on and on now for 60 years at this point. And their early stuff, it's too pop for me, way too pop and a bit cheesy. And I tried to listen to their later stuff. I mean, my view is Sergeant Pepper's no, I find that to be too music hally. Rubber Soul's okay. Norwegian Wood, for example, I think is a great tune. I think, like you, I like the White Album. I think that's a much, much, much better album. I think that's when they're at their most interesting. There's still some ridiculous songs on here, like Obla Di Obla Da. Bungalow Bill that I have no time for. But then you got gems like Happiness is a Warm Gun, Helter Skelter, of course. I don't know, Revolution 9, perhaps. But this is a kind of frustrating thing for me for the Beatles. For every one of those tunes, they do something absolutely stupid like Drive My Car, which I think that is just the most annoying song I've ever heard. It's awful. It's McCartney at his most whimsical and dumb. So again, I respect the Beatles. I understand the legacy. I even like a couple of the tunes, but there's just other bands who take priority in my life. And in fact, I do find them to be massively overrated. And I hate this constant veneration, especially from the boomers who just go on and on about them. So yeah, that's why my first choice is the Beatles.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, I like the Beatles, but there's several factors involved. One, I know that you probably aren't a big psychedelic user, so that certainly affects some of it. And
Sure.
you're probably not obsessed with Charles Manson, so that
I'm kind of indifferent.
yeah.
I find the whole Charles Manson thing. I mean, he's a horrible human being. I don't quite get, for example, White Zombie's obsession with him, but whatever.
He, but is he really anymore? I mean, I kind of put Charles Manson in the same category as Martin Luther King. Everybody has their
Mm.
things that they're into and their vision for the world, and he was passionate about it, so I appreciate that.
Yeah.
With the Beatles, though,
Yeah.
um, they have such a breadth of work to like kind of pick and choose. Not all
Sure.
of their stuff is created equal.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's some stuff I do hate. I could do without any Ringo Starr song. If I was ever given a microphone, I don't know. It's any Ringo Starr song, even his best, sounds like it should be in a parade. It's like he's leading a parade.
Yeah, Yellow Submarine.
And Paul McCartney is sappy as hell.
Oh,
I appreciate what he does on Abbey Road, but that's it. And is it really even the real Paul? On my
yeah, that whole.
conspiracy theory episode, we talked about Paul is dead thing.
Sure.
So you guys can go back and look at that. But yeah, I mean, they're fun and they have a big mythology, and I like George and John, but that's about it. So I get it. It's one of those things where I get it. If you don't like them, I get it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I say this, and I have tried. I'll never just dismiss a band. I did try sitting down with all their albums, and I do like the White Album. I have to say, there's still some clunkers on there. I think that's probably one of their better records. It amazes me that bands like Black Sabbath and Soundgarden even venerate them so much. I just can't see it myself, and I do find their tweeness quite irritating. It's kind of why I don't like the Small Faces or the Kinks or anything like that. It's
Right,
just too
right.
much weave and like
Kind of like the
say
the
too
garage
English.
version of Britpop.
Yeah, basically, yeah. Dare I say too English? I know I'm betraying my people when I say that, but I do. It's just a side of our culture which I just don't have any time for.
Right. I get it. I
But
mean, in high school, I worked in a record store where the owner was obsessed with the Beatles.
uh,
And
yeah,
so having to hear him every day, um, I mean, we played other stuff too, but there was
sure.
always a Beatles hour at some point. Um, and he
So
would listen to,
sensitive, don't they? They get so sensitive, their fans. It's like I get that some of
I
the
mean,
stuff
they're like Trekkies, really. And I've
they
been
really
to
are.
Beatle conventions
Oh my
where people want certain serial numbers on their White Album. And
God,
yeah,
I like Dazzling Killman. I'm fine if people don't like it. I'm not gonna like get angry about it and say you must like them and something. It's just the level of defensiveness from their fans is so out of proportion. It's just like get it. Some people don't like your band.
right.
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, I get it. I don't really get defensive about anything like
No,
that.
of
It's just kind of, I can
course not.
understand.
Sure. Cool.
There's one I'll be a little bit defensive about, but I
Okay.
understand that one too.
All right.
My first pick is going to be Neutral Milk Hotel.
Right.
And I mean, they have the one iconic album that everybody knows. And it seems like for a time period in the early 2000s, every girl I dated had that album. Uh,
Mm.
But I just can't stand the vocals are just not in pitch. Like if you're flat or sharp and can't find the key, I don't know why you're in the studio. But that was their thing and they ran with it. And I get what they're going for. There's a lot of like the Beatles, there's a lot of bands that I like that are into them.
Hmm.
Um, but it just doesn't mesh well, and I've listened to that album more than I've wanted to. And
Is in the airplane
so
over
I
the sea?
only really tried to get into it maybe the first two times. And I've gone back and revisited and said, well, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, there's if I want to hear that type of thing, I'll listen to the Violent Femmes. Uh,
Yeah, maybe
and
early
they're
Flaming Lips.
darker and more transgressive. So, and maybe, and that's part of it. Neutral Milk Hotel could be too happy for me. So it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're part of that whole sort of power poppy psych scene. There's other bands like Apples in Stereo and people like that.
Ringo Starr, they're one.
Yes. It's fine. I mean, it's not something that I can get all that excited about. I listen to it and I just kind of go, yeah, this is just Flaming Lips on a budget, really, and more
Right.
lo-fi. It's just, and I don't like Flaming Lips' later work. I think it's rubbish. But I'm just like, this is early Flaming Lips, but just really twee and just it just dissipates. The music dissipates, I guess, once I listen to it. I don't hate it. I'm just don't find it all that interesting.
Yeah, this like the Flaming Lips are a good example. If they're a band that they're not on this tier
No.
of actively avoiding. Um,
Yeah.
when I listen to them, I like what I hear, but they seem
Yes.
to be a little lacking some conceptual continuity and are inconsistent. But I know they're great musicians,
Well, I
so
love their early work, as I say, because they were a bit punkier and a bit, I don't want
yeah,
to say heavy, never heavy, but they had a bit more attitude about them. But then as when time went on, they just started to do stupid albums like,
they got a little pretentious.
yeah, reimagining Dark Side of the Moon. I don't need to hear that, really. I'm just not that interested. So, whatever, is what it is.
All right, what's your next one?
All right, so this is one that might trigger you, Will, to a degree. I think you probably know you did a special with Lee on them, and it's Iron Maiden. Now, I want to caveat this with saying that, in a way, Iron Maiden, not in any way musically, but they remind me of the Grateful Dead in the respect of how they've managed to build such a massive following with little to no radio play. I mean, I can only think of two songs which might have really broken through to the mainstream and that people would be able to, name. And I appreciate the first couple of albums. I mean, I really like Paul Di'Anno. And I kind of get a bit irritated when I hear Steve Harris go on and on about how much he hates punk. Yeah, but Steve, you hired this guy who snarls with in a leather jacket and short hair. What, what are you talking about? So I think he's talking rubbish in that respect. And I don't particularly like Bruce Dickinson. I mean, he's a very, very talented guy. I mean, he flies fucking planes for God's sake. But again, I think he's a bit touchy and a bit sensitive about these things. And I sat down with their albums and I appreciate what they're going for. They're incredibly talented musicians. They all seem, for the most part, okay guys. The artwork's cool, and I have sat down, peace of mind, and all of that. And I just figured, yeah, it's just not for me. It's something about their sound that it's a level of bombast and kind of like I see them as sort of the godfathers of power metal in some ways. Not as extreme as obviously like Hammerfall and all that, but in terms of concept albums and high-pitched vocals and all of that sort of stuff. So I respect them as a band and I have tried, but it's just not for me. So yeah, that's my next choice.
Oh, you'll be surprised, but I totally get it. Um,
Mm,
in the fact that, like since I know you
sure.
and I know things that you're not into, and and if you think about like my life experiences, it makes perfect sense why I am into I have an Iron Maiden tattoo. I got Number of the Beast like on my arm.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I mean, I get it. Bruce Dickinson is not for everybody because he's very operatic,
Yeah.
and I understand that there's some people that don't like it. I mean, anybody has to admit that he's a better singer than Geddy
Of
Lee. I
course.
think that that's the
Oh my God. It goes without saying.
and
Yeah.
I mean, I like Rush, and that's one of the things where I can understand with Geddy Lee.
Oh, Geddy Lee's a terrible vocalist.
Oh, I understand how people might not like him.
Yeah, yeah. He's
Um,
awful.
2112
Unchapped.
has its moments, but I will say that, yeah. And, so there's an element you probably didn't play Dungeons and Dragons a lot as a kid.
Not
And
really. No.
yeah, so there's a whole fantasy element. And I do agree that Iron Maiden are the kind of the godfathers of power metal, but for me, why I don't like most power metal, but I like Iron Maiden.
Yeah.
It's because they're darker and more aggressive, where power
Yes.
metal tends to be a little happier and sound like pirates going to go drink at the tavern or
I
something.
mean, that's interesting. You should say that actually. I remember that band Halloween. They had a drummer who constantly smiled. I think it was their original drummer. I don't know anything, hardly anything about Halloween, but I remember seeing some of their videos, and their drummer always seemed like a very sort of happy, sort of go-lucky guy. Well, so we thought. So I sort of see what you mean. It does
Right.
seem a bit goofy
Yeah, I
almost.
mean, we know how I feel about happy music.
Yeah.
And Iron Maiden's one of the happiest bands I listen to, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, as I say, I totally get why you would like them, and I understand why people would like them. I think it's also, and I'm really sorry for saying this, it makes me sound like such a prick, but for me, it's an image thing as well. I just find their image a little bit embarrassing, especially, you get like the 80s, you've got
Yeah.
all
It is
post-punk.
very Spinal Tap.
I know, and that's the thing. And I know I shouldn't say that. I know it just makes me sound like a bit of a snob. I get it, but I really, I mean, at least you
Well,
look
their
at.
image is definitely the antithesis of punk. Once
Yeah.
Bruce was in the band, it was that. It was, they got Philly
Yeah.
shirts, they've got laser guns, they have everything is larger than life.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I get that.
Ironically, if it was Bowie, I would probably love it.
Yeah, but he does it, and he doesn't have there's not the same kind of masculine energy to what David Bowie does.
Maybe.
No.
Too androgynous.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
balances out.
Fair enough. Okay.
Which, like I'm the same, I have a super hyper masculine side and then I have, a more creative side. So I get it. I do.
Sure.
One, I'm super like if I'm going to the gym, do you think I'm listening to David Bowie or Iron Maiden?
Yes. I mean, or Slayer even.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get you for sure. Yeah, it's a bit hard to pump weights and then listen to boys keep swinging, isn't it?
Yeah, I could take I'm Afraid of Americans.
Yeah, maybe one of the
Um,
really darker ones.
cool, cool. So let's see. My second pick is going to be a band where musically they're good, but their vocals are just terrible, the worst thing ever.
Hmm.
And it's The Body. And they have collaborated with a lot of bands that I like and tour with a lot of bands I like, and a lot of bands I like respect them.
Sure.
People like Betrayal of Guilt and Health and Street Sex and
Big Brave.
any of those like full of hell, any of those kind of wacky, dark, grindcore bands.
Sure.
And they're experimental, and I can appreciate that. But the vocals just sound like a bird is getting tortured, and I just can't get into it.
Yeah, I'm with you actually. I did review one of their albums, The Shaman, and I was just like, I mean, I gave it an okay review, but I've never gone back and listened to the record. It's interesting they come from Providence, Rhode Island, because that's the same scene as what's that other band, Lightning Bolt. They're like the
Okay,
metal
I can see
version of
that. A lot
them.
of experimental stuff going on.
Yeah, and I don't like Lightning Bolt at all. I find them quite irritating, and I also find the body not really irritating, but just boring. I listen to
Yeah,
it
the
and I'm
vocals
like,
ruin everything. I mean, if they had a different singer, it could work.
funnily enough, actually, I don't mind their collaborations. Like the album they did with Big Brave, I really enjoyed. I think it was quite acousticy, and you
Okay.
know, the Full of Hell albums are okay. They did one with Disfig, which I did for Ghost Cult a couple of years ago that I thought
Yeah.
was okay. So
Okay.
I feel like they're better when they do collaborations. They seem to have to rein in their worst excesses when
Right.
they're collaborating, whereas when they're doing their own stuff, they just seem to be really dull and just droning on and on and on.
I
Oh,
get that.
yeah, cool. Yeah, good choice.
All right. What you got?
Okay, far less contentious than my first two choices. It's propane, and not to be confused with the saying that Hank Hill says in King of the Hill, but propane, so it's pro and dash pain. The reason I have a problem with this band, I mean, I'm a huge, as you know, I'm a huge Crumbsuckers fan, and I really like Gary Mescal as a man. He just every time I've seen him interviewed, he seemed like a lovely guy, really down to earth and giving. And as you know, Crumbsuckers are absolutely amazing. You know, they're shredding, and it's hard classic crossover. It's probably my favorite crossover band. But Propane, I was like, I should like this. It was coming out the same time as other bands that I love, like Orange 9 Mil and Biohazard and that kind of thing. And I listened to it and I just thought, this is just so average. This is just really poor. I mean, really, really bad. And, Foul Taste of Freedom and Truth Hurts. I'm just like, every song to me sounds exactly the same. There's just absolutely nothing there. And there's the odd moment, and probably the only album of theirs I appreciate is I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's basically a covers record. And when your favorite album's a cover record, it doesn't really bode well.
Right.
So I just find them so, I mean, they've done 15, 16 albums, and it's just like there's just no musical progression whatsoever in any way, shape, or form. They're basically like a prototype version of Hatebreed in that respect. They're just gone on and on with nothing, not one hint of change or musical progression. And as I say, I find that so surprising considering he was in Crumbsuckers,
Right.
who made a massive musical progression and they only did two albums. So yeah, I'm afraid, sorry, Gary, but I'm afraid, mate, that Propane sucks. They're just totally uninterested. And I respect the guy behind him and I respect what he's trying to do, but I've really tried hard to listen to them and make an effort, but they just leave me cold. I find them very, very dull.
Yeah, I mean, since they're in metal circles, I have always seen their name, and they might have even played shows that I went to.
Hmm.
But if I saw them, they left such a impression on me. I don't even remember seeing them. And that's kind of how I feel about the music too. It's just like the height of mediocrity. It feels like just Timu's version of Prong. So
Brilliant. I know you're not the biggest Prong fan. I mean, I really
no,
like.
I do like Prong.
Oh, you
I
do?
like
Oh,
Beg to Differ and
sure.
Prove You Wrong. I
Yeah.
like those two albums.
Yeah, yeah. I like
And I
Prong.
like that Snap Your Fingers, Snap Your Neck song.
Yeah, sure. But I know what you mean. It is that kind of early 90s, kind of like group Pantera, if they tried to go a bit more hardcore, but not.
Right. And see that we're back at the thing. Like, why
Yeah.
listen to that when I could listen to Pantera?
Sure, exactly. And Pantera sound more hardcore, ironically, than.
Which brings me to my next pick, which is another dime store Pantera. Uh,
Go on.
I'm gonna go with Lamb of God.
Okay.
And I've reviewed their album a lot. I think I've had every one. I do like the very first one, and I don't mind Sacrament, but Randy Blythe is a terrible singer. And I mean, you could really tell at that Ozzy tribute concert when he couldn't make his way through freaking Children of the Grave.
Oh,
And
really? Okay.
Rob Zombie can do that. And we know Rob Zombie's range,
Yeah.
which goes from yeah to yeah. So yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I've got no real opinion on them. My cousin really likes them. He's from Phoenix, and
Okay.
he digs them. He likes this kind of sound. I mean, I don't, I mean, yeah, I've listened to them. I just, they've left no marked impression. For some reason, I sort of lump them in with that other band. What's that band with Jesse Leach as
Kill
vocalist?
Switch Engage.
Them. I seem to lump them in with bands like that. I don't know why. I mean, I'm sure
I
they
mean, they
are.
play a lot of shows with them.
Yeah,
Kill
they
Switch
just seem to.
Engage at least has hookier choruses
Sure.
because both of their singers could sing.
Yeah.
Um,
Howard as well. Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. And it's kind of ironic because Randy Blythe is a punk rocker. I mean, he listens to
right?
hardcore and he's
Yeah.
just making really
He's a huge Killing
uninteresting.
Joke fan. In
Is
fact,
it?
yeah, he played that show that Martin Atkins was doing,
Oh,
where he was
cool.
doing that Killing Joke tribute. He was singing for that.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, so the guy's clearly got taste, and I've heard him interviewed.
Yeah.
Seems like a bright guy, but unfortunately, the music is eh, just
And I have
leave.
a problem with him. Like, I can't take him seriously. He's like yelling like he's a tough guy, but he looks like he weighs like 80 pounds. He's about
Well,
the size of my wrist. So,
that's because you're ripped, dude.
well, I
So
am big, but
yeah.
I weigh like 245 pounds. I'm sure I'm like two
You
of
could pick
Bobby
him up with
Flay.
one hand, I'm sure.
I just can't take that serious.
I know, I know. It is kind of ironic that all these tough guy on vocals are a bit weedy. I suppose Jamie Jaster would. He's quite short, I think.
Right. And I've always thought if you're a tough guy, you just don't talk about it. Because
No, you
why?
don't need to.
What's the
It'll just
point?
come across, won't it? What's that dude who got done? Who's in one of these sort of bands for trying to kill his wife or something, or trying to set.
Oh, the guy from Every Time I Die or something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
then
quite.
we're getting into like MySpace metal at that point. So
Okay, fair enough. Let's veer away from that.
yeah. All right, what you got?
All right, man. So the next band I'm going to go for, let's get them out of the way. Let's go for Tool. And I know this is a band you have a fondness for. So with Tool, I mean, it's pretentious. And I'll give them props because they took Failure out on tour in the 1990s and gave them a helping hand. So they definitely get props from me for that because I love Failure. And I know that they were kind of mentored by Henry Rollins and the Rollins Band. I think they went out on early tours with them. They're part of that whole scene with the Jane's Addiction and people like that. Um, but and I appreciate Opiate's okay. Is it Undertow's all right? It's kind of a bit more direct, but I just listen to them, and again, for me, I just struggle to remember anything they've ever done. I just find it really tedious, and I think part of it has to do with if I'm going to listen to prog, I need it to be quite aggressive. Like that's why I like King Crimson, and that's kind of why I like Van de Graaff Generator, and to be a bit scarier. And I find Tool just a bit plodding and monotonous. And again, I appreciate the intellectuality. And I think one of their albums they quoted Bill Hicks or something. Um, and so I get kind of why people like them because metal, let's be honest, it's not the most cerebral genre always, as Cold Chamber can testify to. So I kind of appreciate they're trying to bring something a bit more highbrow, but unfortunately they just come across as a bit tedious and a bit pretentious. So I'm afraid for that reason, Tool just don't cut the mustard.
Right, and I get that one too because it's the way I see it, it's kind of like how everybody else hears Tool is probably how I heard their last album,
Yeah, I remember
which
you.
was really boring and derivative and didn't go anywhere. And truth told, I saw Tool a few years ago live, and I've seen them 5 or 6 times before this. And it was so boring we left in the middle. They were playing a song from that new album, and I thought that it was one of the songs from Lateralis. And then midway into the song, I realized that it was not. And that
Yeah,
was, if I can't tell your songs apart, that's a problem.
I know, definitely. Yeah, they're just, I should in a way appreciate them. They're kind of one of those artists like Devin Townsend who I respect it. I get it. I appreciate it. But I guess for me, I'm just not a prog guy, and that's probably why it just leaves no marked impression.
All
So,
right, my next one is going to be another band kind of like Lamb of God that it's just kind of like the most mediocre thing of that they do. And I've listened to several of their albums. I've seen them live, not on purpose. They just had
yeah.
Cannibal Corpse opening up for them. And
Okay.
that's Amon Amarth.
Hmm.
And yeah, I mean, you got to do more than just have a Viking ship on stage. And they're from Sweden. Really, the Swedes like to pretend that they're Vikings when the
Denmark, isn't
most westernized Scandinavian country
it?
ever.
Yeah.
If they were in America, Swedes would just be going to Whole Foods and that type of thing. They're basically hippies.
Well,
Uh,
look, it's Greta. I've got two words, Greta Thunberg. That's all you need
right,
to know.
exactly. She typifies it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, so
Yeah, I
and the thing too, like it was very evident how not heavy they are
yeah.
when they played after Cannibal Corpse. There's just no point of them going on, because it was in a big arena. And I've never seen Cannibal Corpse with that type of production and volume before, and they were just like so crushing that
Yeah.
they should have not even bothered.
Sure. Yeah,
I think if
again,
you listen, if you think that Amon Amarth is heavy, then you probably play
you don't know
World of
heavy.
Warcraft a lot. So,
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean they are pretty silly. I mean, at least they're not as bad as Sabaton, I mean, who are absolutely
oh
ridiculous.
yeah.
It's just stupid beyond belief. But
Right. And so we're not getting into bands that we hate. So then
no, no, of course.
we'll do that next week.
Yeah,
But
yeah, for sure.
um,
Yeah, I mean that World of Earth,
so I can tolerate them. And all
sure.
these bands I can tolerate. I just
Yeah. And you might even like the odd song, but yeah, I mean I don't really have a
yeah,
marked
I don't
impression
know if I like an
on
odd
Modern
song by
Earth.
Marth. I mean, I have heard some of their earlier stuff is a little bit better, but
Yeah, so yeah.
how it goes. All
Cool.
right, what you
Fair
got?
enough. All right, so my final choice is a band that I've really had a mixed relationship with over the years, and it's Clutch. And I really love their first two albums. This is the thing, much in the same way as one of the bands I mentioned earlier. I think like Iron Maiden, for example, whose first couple of albums I liked, Transnational Speedway League and Clutch. The first two records I really like. It was kind of a really intriguing mix of sort of Faith No More weirdness, a bit of helmety riffs. It was a bit stonery in places, a bit of Led Zeppelin, all kind of mixed into one. And I thought it was quite a cool sound. And then I don't know what happened. Then they suddenly just turned into a boring bluesy jam band, and I kind of just went, "Yeah, this is now just ZZ Top for stoners." And I just went, "Yeah, okay." Again, just very pedestrian. And I'm aware that what's he called? JP Gaster, I think is the drummer.
Mhm.
Tremendously talented dude, very, very good drummer. Neil Fallon seems like they all seem like sound guys, and they're from Maryland. I'm aware that they've sort of toured with some of those Maryland Doom bands. I think they're mates with Wino. So they've got a lot going for them for things that I should like. But honestly, since that second album came and went, I've just struggled with them, and I just find what they do just I'm just so nonplussed by it, and actually quite irritated because I'm not into sort of Leonard Skinner and sort of jammy sort of southern rock. It does absolutely nothing for me. I don't hate it by any means, but I'm just ambivalent. It was more like it turned into the fucking Doobie Brothers. I'm just like, I don't really need to hear this. Where's the urgency and the excitement of the first two albums? So, yeah, I've tried, but their later albums do absolutely nothing, I'm afraid.
I mean, I really like Clutch.
Yeah.
But I can get it. I get it. And I'm the opposite. I don't really like the first couple albums as much.
Oh, okay.
And for me, it's like the lyrics I think get more interesting because it is like ZZ Top, but they're like singing about Bigfoot and cryptids and um, I mean, some of the lyrics are just hilarious. And I don't know if you've heard it, maybe you have, but the album Psychic Warfare
Is it
is,
one of the later ones? Yeah.
yeah, it's really good. But if you totally hate ZZ Top,
I mean, I don't hate ZZ Top. I
then
think they're absolutely fine, but it's not necessarily something that I would jam. I
right.
appreciate one or two of their albums for sure. But I don't know if I want to hear a, 90s onwards interpretation. It doesn't exactly fill me with much excitement necessarily.
Yeah, and I think that too with some of their stuff is that how they wound up at that place is that they started smoking a lot of weed and while they watched Ancient Aliens. And
There we go. That
that
maybe
makes
that's
plenty
what
of
I missed.
sense because that's, and if you do that and ingest that too much,
Yeah.
ZZ Top seems like the logical final form, like Pokemon that you would arrive at. So,
Fair
yeah, I
enough.
mean, but I get it. I get why,
Mm.
I guess they're the closest thing I listen to that's a jam band.
Yeah. Yeah.
Although there's some other band that Faith always says that I listen to that's a jam band. I don't know if it's Iron Maiden or some, there's another band.
Mm.
Pink Floyd, I get
Yeah.
might be a jam band, but
Sure.
yeah. So my final pick, speaking of jam bands and songs that are too long, but that's not the reason that I can't get into them. Once
Mm.
again, we go back to the vocals.
Yeah.
And I like operatic metal singers. Like I like Iron Maiden, I like Queensryche, I like um Iced Earth, I like Blind Guardian. And I could probably go on and name a few more like that that I like. I mean, it's the earlier stuff. I like Accept and Scorpions and that type of thing. But and I'm in a power metal kind of band, so it's which is weird. But I cannot get into Dream Theater.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the main reason is that singer sounds like freaking Steve Perry from Journey.
Oh God.
And to me, that takes all the like they've gotten into a bad habit of making these grandiose power ballads, entire albums of it. And there were two albums I liked, which was Awake and 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, because they kind of got back to being heavy. And people
Hmm.
were trying to say that the last album was heavy, but I mean, there's just like, I mean, it's almost on the level of Celine Dion or Meatloaf. And I mean, talk about it's so I use them as the example because I try to relate and put myself in other people's shoes and say, well, I'm sure how I feel about Dream Theater is how these people feel about Iron Maiden or King Diamond or,
Yeah.
whatever. And yeah, the vocals just kill it for me. He just sounds as gay as a $3 bill, really. And I'm sure I'll get canceled for saying that because
More than likely.
he's at least in the closet. But I I mean I was in musical theater, so I can appreciate that part.
Cool.
But
Yeah.
it's just so puerile that I cannot I just can't and they're great musicians. They
Yeah.
can't write songs to save their life now. They
Well,
used to.
I,
Somehow they and I don't know where the switch was. Maybe it was the key. They've changed keyboardists a lot.
right.
That could be it. I know they have a different. I don't think that guy is the original bass player. But he's good. Yeah, he's good. And the guitar player is great. Drummer's great. I don't know. Just
I'm
can't do it.
not on my radar at